Righto, well, the drift, as soon as it turns off, it the screen goes black. It's not working because I haven't charged the battery. It didn't seem to charge on the ride here, so I only have I think it's already over. Oh, sad face. So anyway, in case it is working, I'm in sort of the Kosciuszko area. This road sort of leads to Threadbow eventually, but I'm going to stop at a camp site down here, which is pretty cool. And this is a straight up vlog because last night I ran into probably my the biggest fear on this trip, the one that can cause me the most harm, and that's humans. And I ran into a human that seemed to be all cool at first, and then the poison called alcohol, they entered their system, and the whole game changed. And it was a pretty sleepless night. I was at the campsite there, and the guy was clearly living in his shitty old caravan, and he came out and he seemed pretty normal and that, and you know, I'm not one to really judge a book by its cover that badly, like, you know, so so I went and had a cup of coffee with him, and he was all pretty cool, and he came out and had a look at the bike, and he's asking questions about it, and that, and you know, and so he was a bit different, because like every time he'd ask a question, he's like, "Oh, I'm not scoping out your bike or anything. Like, oh, I'm not a camp thief." I'm like, "Oh, thanks for like stating the obvious." Like, yeah, I wasn't worried about that, but now I might be. And anyway, but he was all cool, and he wanted, you know, and he let me get in out of the rain in his caravan. I had a chat with him, and that's when I had like a coffee, and then it rained again, and I went in, and he actually had some red wine mixed with lemonade, and I had one of them with him, and I thought he was going to pour himself one, and he just grabs a whole bottle. Like, he mixed mine out of the two right canisters, but then he just grabbed a pre-mixed bottle in a 1.25 litre lemonade bottle, already mixed up of his go-go juice here, of his, I don't know what you'd call that drink. And anyway, he was swigging on that, and he pretty much finished that whole bottle. Like, I finished my drink, he wanted to keep like filling me up, but when I saw he's drinking like that, I'm like, no, I'm good. And then I went and did some stuff, and he's like, oh, he came out again while I was doing some stuff and asked questions, and it was being a bit more weirder with his body language now. And then he's like, oh, you know, come back over and have a chat with me. I'm like, yeah, I will after dinner and that. And I thought, I'll have a cup of tea after my dinner. I'll go have my afternoon cup of tea with him, and then I'll go to bed. And by this time, he was into his second bottle of red halfway through, and like I said, oh yeah, come over, mate. After I finish my cup of tea here, I'll go to bed. You know, I've got a big day tomorrow. And it was like talking to him, and some of the some of his concepts were getting a bit out there, or not out there. I was just finding them hard to keep up with because he's getting drunk, and I wasn't always getting the point to some of his stories, you see. So that was like, you know, sort of that real drunk guy sort of stories. I'm like, oh, okay. And I finished my cup of tea and sort of sat there and chatted a little bit and said, oh mate, I've finished my tea, I'm going to go to bed. It's like 9 o'clock at night or something like this now. And he's like, no, stay. I'm like, oh no mate, I gotta go to sleep, you know what I mean? Like, thanks for having me over and all that, but I'm gonna go to sleep. I'll see you later. And then he's sitting on like a roller chair kind of thing, and he put his hand out, like rolled to the door because I was outside the door, and put his hand out for me to shake it, and I shook it, and he tried to like drag me back into the thing saying don't go, and I just like, I promptly slipped out of it, And he stood up and he sat down and he's like, no, don't go. And I sort of jumped in. I sat in the seat just inside the door of this little dodgy caravan, and I was all like explaining my situation, like I gotta go, you know, it's like bloody, it's late and I'm tired and I need to sleep, and he does this bloody karate punch at me, but not at me, but like past, like this way, shoom, past like that. I'm like, what the hell? It scared the absolute bejesus out of me. I'm like, dude, what the hell with that? Like, and I got up and stepped outside. I'm like, dude, I don't want any trouble. Like, what's going on? I'm like, I'm sorry, I gotta go to bed, man, but like, I'm tired. Like, don't take offense to that. Like, I gotta sleep, man. And then he's like mumbling stuff. I can't even quite comprehend or remember now what he was sort of talking about. I'm like, dude, I don't want any trouble. Like, you know. And he puts his hand out to shake my hand again. I'm like, okay, man, we're cool. And I'd shake it, and he tries to like drag me off like behind his caravan or something. And I'm like, and I like once again promptly remove my hand from his grasp. And he like turns around. He's like, you know how to fight. I'm like, what? He goes, you know karate. You know how to fight, don't you? I'm like, nah, mate. I don't know how to fight. I'm a lover, not a fighter, and I'm a bloody bad lover. I don't want any trouble. I just want to go to bed, man, so I can just be on my way, mate. And then he started like posturing up and like pacing like someone who's about to have a fight. I'm like, oh, far out. And then he stopped doing that, but he's all death staring me and like, you know, wanted to shake my hand while we have this conversation about how we're cool. And so it does that, and then he sort of puts both his hands crossed like this, like to shake. I'm like, oh, here we go. Oh my god. And so I do it, and you'll never guess what happened. He did a bloody twirl. But instead of like me being in some sort of precarious position where he's in a dominant position, I'm like behind him, sort of holding his arms back, and he's sort of like trying to walk me forward, and he almost like trips and falls into a tree. And it's the only reason I'm there, he would have hit the tree, and I hold him up, and when like the balance is there so he won't fall over, I slip the grip again. And I'm like, dude, I don't know what this is all about. I don't know what I've done to offend you. Like, I gotta go to bed. Like, I don't want any trouble. Like, don't worry about it. Like, it's all cool. Like, I'm not gonna bother you, and you're not gonna bother me. Let's just leave it at that. And he's like doing all this, like, you know, pacing and sort of bloody looking all bloody, trying to look all macho and stuff. I'm like, oh, far out. Yeah, and he sort of bluffed a bit with all that kind of stuff, and I'm like, oh man, like, I really gotta go to bed. Like, I don't have time for this. Like, you know, like, we're cool. I'm no offense, man, but I'm going to bed. And then he's sort of like mumbled stuff and like, yeah, whatever, yeah, and sort of like watching me and stuff, and sort of walking off, and then gonna come like walking back kind of thing. It was like real bloody weird. And then I get into my tent, I get into like my bed, and like that shook me up anyway, like that. I'm like, man, that dude just tried to fight me. And then he's turning his radio on real loud, and then turning it off, and then just like making like random like bloody noises, like he's got some bloody thing wrong with him, like I'm there. And then he's like opening and shutting his car door, and he's bloody like clinging and banging things and rustling things, and like getting his torches, like shining it like bright onto my tent and everything. And I'm like, is he for serious? And I ignore it and sort of and try and get some sleep, but I can't get sleep because of all these random bloody like sounds and stuff coming out. And then I can't get to sleep because now I'm paranoid that this guy's gonna like try and jump me in my tent and roll me and like, I don't know, drag me down the street in my tent, because we just had a bloody disagreement, and he was all posturing up how he wanted to fight me. I'm like, what the hell? So that sort of stopped at like bloody 3 in the morning. And so at 6 in the morning, like when the first light broke, I got up and I packed my stuff. He was all locked in his little bloody little alco den, and he was all locked away in there. And then bloody yeah, I packed my stuff and I got out of there, man. And it's like, what the hell? It's like the universe gave me a little bit of a slap upside the head again, saying, dude, like, yeah, there are good people out there, but just like, still, watch your step. You know what I mean? And it's, and I mean, and at the same rate, I don't want to like just plain hate on this dude. Like, you don't know, like, he's obviously having a rough patch. He's clearly homeless and having a few life issues. So I don't want to just full on like hate on him, but like, he put me in such a shitty, uncomfortable position in life. Like, I'm shaken and stirred by that whole situation. And if I could afford it, I would actually get like a motel room or something for the night, just so I could lock a door and have a shower and sleep in a bed and just relax again, and like, so I can just come to terms with that, because it was pretty sort of scary, you know, like having this drunk guy who like went from normal to drunk angry, you know, like that's not normal. And so now he's an irrational, intoxicated human, which means that like anything's possible. Like, you know, I don't know his history, his background, so it was a real dodgy situation that I was in there by the end of that night, and I didn't get a wink of sleep. And yeah, so here we are today, just driving along, and I just had to tell that story, and that's what all today is. Today is me just jibber jabbering about what happened last night, man. That's another lesson learned on the Postie Bike Chronicles. Bloody hell.